Just when you need it most, conventional risk management has failed. And why is that? Well, precision in terms of probabilistic estimates instills a false sense of confidence. John Maynard Keynes said it's better to be roughly right than precisely wrong. Okay? So when you think about statisticians, the statistician who drowned in a river with an average depth of 3 feet, and what do you call an economic forecast? Wrong. Okay? So what do you do with all of that? And I think there's a problem with averages, and Taleb and others and Mandelbrot and so on have talked about that. But again, it comes down again to judgment. Now, one of the other things that contributes to the failure of conventional risk management is the loss of generational memory. It seems to have happened with NASA. When the engineers design something, they understand what its limitations are in that first generation. But subsequent generations who build on those same designs tend not to understand the same level of risk. So just to give you another example, the tragedy that occurred with the tsunami in Japan. There's a village of Anayoshi, and in the hills surrounding that village, there are stone markers. Some of them are as many as 600 years or older. And all of these stone markers say, do not build below this point. Now, for the first generation, of course, it's obvious they shouldn't build below that point. To the second generation, well, they're listening to their mothers and fathers. And the third generation, that's what grandfather said. But after the fourth generation, people start to say, looks like really good beachfront to me. And the tragedy is, of course, is we know these things, right? But we figure, well, if it happened in the past, it can't happen, won't happen again, which is kind of an ironic way of thinking about it. The other problem, I think, excuse me, is that most risk management, excuse me, is focused on risk aversion, insurable risks, and value protection. And that's important. It's necessary, but it's not sufficient. And I think most of what, and I have a little wiring diagram I'm going to show you shortly, that shows where I think most of the focus of conventional risk management is today, which is on operations, reporting, and compliance. I think the other thing, too, is that conventional risk management separates risk management from performance management. One of my favorite cartoonists is Larson. And you recall the cartoon of the two deer that are standing in the woods, and one of them's got a big bullseye on its chest? And the other one turns to it and says, bummer of a birthmark, Hal. All right? Well, I think ERM's a little like that, because what you start to do, the more you separate risk management from performance management, the more likely you are to be irrelevant. So again, with conventional risk management, I think it tends to become bureaucratic, it becomes rigid, and therefore it becomes irrelevant.